Let us start now. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alfred Julian from the Election Committee.
My name is Ariel Gloriana from the Election Committee.
And we're here today to act as the Mcs and Moderators.
Here with us are the two candidates who are running for Student Council President. The first candidates are Matthew Wilson, President Aspirant, and Tiffany Margaretha Singgih, acting as his Vice President.
The second candidates are Selwyn Oesjadi, who is also running for President, as well as Gilbert Laurentz Wenas, his Vice President Aspirant. And not to forget their respective campaign team.
Today's debate will be split into 5 main sections. In the first 15 minutes, we will have easy questions provided by the Election Committee. In this section, each candidate will have 30 seconds to think about the question. When called upon, they must turn on their cameras and the timer will be shown right beside them. I will be repeating the question twice. The candidates are allowed to take a paper and a pencil or a pen to write down their thoughts if they must after hearing the question.
If they need any clarifications, the timer will stop. After the timer is finished, we will ask them to stop whatever they're doing and start the timer for the answers. In the first section, they'll have 1 minute to answer the questions. If they don't use the full time to answer it, we'll use the corresponding time to ask more questions to simulate a real conversation. Once the timer is up, we'll ask the candidates to stop.
The second section will ask some harder questions, and thus the time to prepare will change to 45 seconds, while the time to answer is 1 minute and 30 seconds. All the other rules are the same as the first section.
The third section will be when the candidates will take turn to ask questions to each other. They have 45 seconds to think about the questions to ask while being in a private call that has a KPO member to monitor. Afterwards, they'll have 4 minutes to discuss the questions, and they are allowed to develop the conversation as long as it is related to the topic that the questioners have asked. Clarifications may be asked, however, the timer will not be stopped.
The fourth section will have their campaign team to ask each other just like the third section. Therefore, they will also have 45 seconds to think about the question to ask or to answer, while being in a private call that has a KPO member to monitor. Afterwards, they will also have 4 minutes to discuss the question. And lastly, they are allowed to develop the conversations as long as it's related to the topic that the questioners ask. Clarifications may be asked, however, the timer will not be stopped.
The fifth section will have the candidates answering 3 questions each from the live audience member. You'll have 30 seconds to prepare and 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. The questions will be monitored and picked by the election committee member.
Finally, the last section will be each candidate's message to the audience members. They each have 2 minutes to talk. The timer will not be stopped for any occasions in this section. All right, we will commence to the first section. Reminder, in this section, each candidate will have 30 seconds to think about the question. When called upon, they must turn on their cameras, and the timer will be shown right beside them. I will be repeating the question twice. The candidates are allowed to take a paper and pen or pencil to write down their thoughts if they must after hearing the question. If there are any clarifications, the timer will be stopped. After the timer is finished, I will ask them to stop whatever they're doing and start the timer for the answers. In this first section, they will have 1 minute to answer the question. If they don't use the full time to answer it, I will use the corresponding time to ask more questions to stimulate a real conversation. Once the timer is up, I will ask the candidates to stop.
I'll first call on candidate number 1, President Aspirant Wilson, to answer the question. Please turn on your camera. Remember, you're also allowed to write down your thoughts in a piece of paper. Your question is, assuming that you're elected, what exactly could you possibly do as a leader and role model of this code to promote growth in characters among students around you? I repeat, assuming that you're elected, What exactly could you possibly do as a leader and role model of the school to promote growth in characters among the students around you? Your timer starts now. All right, you may answer now.
So I believe that I am a quite friendly person, although it has not been shown clearly through my outside appearance. And with that, I hope people can come forward and talk to me about their problems and such. And if that were to really happen, I think that I can help the school grow and of course its students grow by using the resources available to me once I do get elected in order to solve their problems. Since of course, as a student council member, I'm not working alone, but with my friends and teammates. And all of us working together will definitely be able to help solve the problems of people who come up to us and ask.
Okay. How will you show other people that you can be counted as a good example?
So this is definitely something that's difficult for some people because not knowing someone may cause awkward tension. But I think that once they get to know me better, I think that they can really see my worth and my abilities to help them out. So it's just a matter of time and them getting to know me more.
All right, time's up.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Next, I will call upon candidate number 2, President Aspirant Selwyn, to answer the question. Please turn on your camera. The question is, the Student Council President is not a mere title. If you are to be awarded with such a position, you will be taking all the responsibilities of the Student Council organization on your shoulder. So what does being a Student Council President mean to you? I repeat, the Student Council President is not a mere title. If you are to be awarded with such a position, you will be taking all the responsibilities of the Student Council organization on your shoulder. So what does being a Student Council President mean to you? Timer starts now.
May I start?
Not yet. All right, you may start now.
Well, if I were to become the student council president, I would have a lot of responsibilities. One of my favorite quotes in Spider-Man is, "With great power comes great responsibility." And in the student council, of course, you have to have a lot of responsibility. And responsibility is the greatest trait a leader has to have. A leader has to have these three traits that I think they should have. They should have the ability to take initiative. They should be able to motivate, and they should be able to represent. To initiate is to be the first to step up in any situation, in any adversity, of course. Be the first to initiate the group. To motivate, you cannot work alone in a group, and you have to be able to motivate your group mates. I'm going to use my responsibilities to motivate my group people as well. And of course, to represent is to become their voice. Everyone has a voice in my group. Therefore, I'm going to use my responsibility to voice everyone's opinions.
Timer stop. Thank you so much. I will now call on candidate number 1, Vice President Aspirant Tiffany, to answer this question. Please turn on your camera first. So your question is, understanding that despite the hustle and efforts of student councils from the previous years, several events were impossible to be done. Thus, leaving some negative perception regarding the student council. How will you change those negative perceptions and improve the student council's reputation? I repeat, understanding that despite the hustle and effort of student councils from the previous years, several events were possible to be done, thus leaving some negative perception regarding the student council. How will you change those negative perceptions and improve the student council's reputation? The timer starts now. All right, the timer stops. You may now answer.
We will never stop giving out ideas. So it doesn't matter if it's online or offline, but as long as we get to do the events such as Chinese New Year, we can do it both in offline and online. So we will try our best to be able to accomplish those events, or although it's online or it's offline. And we could also do other events that we can do at the moment. So we are not going to force that one event.
How can you assure us that your plans will succeed?
I'm sorry?
How can you ensure us that your plans will succeed?
We will always try to communicate with each other and accept others' opinions so that if the others...
The timer stops.
Thank you. I will call upon candidate number 2, Vice President Aspirant Gilbert, to answer the question. Being the leader of the student council directly gives you the authority to hypothetically create the best version of the school in line with your vision. How do you plan to utilize the power you have as a student council leader? I repeat, being the leader of the student council directly gives you the authority to hypothetically create the best version of the school in line with your vision. How do you plan to utilize the power you have as a student council leader? Your timer starts now. All right, you may answer now.
Since I am the leader for the next student council, I will make this SES a better place for students to accommodate inspiration, develop students' talents, skills, and creativity by creating clubs according to their hobbies of each and every one of the students to develop their talents, skills, and creativity. We will also grow students to have good socialization by creating the student-made clubs, sharing of caring program to foster a sense of love, and a podcast to let students' voices speak. The satisfaction survey also can help to hear students' voices and many more fun events for the students to anticipate. Thus, together we make a more advanced SES school by making a place for SES students to accommodate inspiration, develop their talent, skills, and creativity.
All right, thank you for that. You may turn off your camera. I will now once again call upon candidate number 1, President Aspirant Wilson. Wilson, please turn on your camera. So your next question is, knowing that in life, things will not always go according to your plan. How do you plan to handle sudden changes and unplanned scenarios as the Student Council President? I repeat, knowing that in life, things will not always go according to your plan. How do you plan to handle sudden changes and unplanned scenarios as the Student Council President? Your timer starts now. All right, you may now answer.
So life is not perfect. Life always throws some curveballs at you, and it's not always going to be your favorite. There have been many occasions in my life where this has been a problem, even though I've only lived for 15 years. And giving up always seemed like an option, but I believe that one of my traits is believing that giving up is not the best option, and there's always another option. And I think that being able to find a workaround, no matter how difficult situation, is one of the things that is very important. And I believe that in the student council, I can even further develop on this trait of mine. And I am not alone. I have many friends that I trust and that I am compatible with in order to help me on this journey and help me grow SES better to become a better school.
Do you have any specific example on how you can handle those unplanned scenarios?
So not being planned merely means that you are not ready for it. It doesn't mean that you cannot get ready for it. So if something does get thrown at me, simply recuperate, and think of a solution.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Next, I will call upon candidate number 2, President Aspirant Selwyn, to answer the question. Please turn on your camera. The question is, having a great desire to be the Student Council President, you have to be aware that it is more than essential for a leader to have the ability in solving internal conflicts and disputes among the Student Council's members. Can you share a personal experience of yours in which you took a major role in unifying contrasting opinions while assuring that all voices were considered? I repeat, having a great desire to be the Student Council President, you have to be aware that it is more than essential for a leader to have the ability in solving internal conflicts and disputes among the Student Council's members. Can you share a personal experience of yours in which you took a major role in unifying contrasting opinions while assuring that all voices were considered? Your timer starts now. All right, you may answer now.
Personally, the decision that I make as a leader, all right, to a group of people in a team, so far I have not experienced something very, very difficult. However, I've been in situations where where they have contrasting opinions, of course. For example, in one time when I was younger, we had a play, all right, and I'm one of the people who managed the play. And some wanted it to be more of a comedy focused show, and another wanted it to be a melancholic show. And of course, I loved their ideas. Altogether, they were both really nice. But then, and they both really loved their ideas specifically. So I had to give out my voice, give out everyone's voice. I have to give out the cons, pros, and everything to make sure these two groups are able to connect. Eventually, we came up with the resolution to make a rom-com, which actually I liked so much.
Hey, thank you for that. I will now call on candidate number 1, Vice President Aspirant Tiffany, to answer this question. Please turn on your camera first, Tiffany. Okay, So your question is that being a student council vice president is an important role. You are required to show good examples to other students. However, the president's role are the one being looked up to often. How would you, as a vice president, increase the awareness of the significance of your position to the community in SES? I repeat, how would you, as a vice president, increase the awareness of significance of your position to the community in SES? Your timer starts now. Please stop. Now you may answer.
As much as possible, I would love to help and join other activities so that not only the vice president will be much more acknowledged, but I would, as much as possible, try to help them if they have difficulties and stuff so that it feels like I'm here. I will be able to help you. So I'm free. I'm free to help anytime. And you guys don't have to be scared to confront me and ask questions.
How can you convince the students that your position has a positive influence to them rather than a negative one?
I will surely give examples before asking them to do it. So by that example, I will be able to show how it's done.
Thank you. And I will call upon candidate number 2, Vice President Aspirant Gilbert, to answer the question. Realizing that you have numerous plans and events, presuming that you won't have enough time to execute them all, what exactly is your priority if you're elected as a leader for the student council? I repeat, realizing that you have numerous plans and events, presuming that you won't have enough time to execute them all, what exactly is your priority if you're elected as a leader for the student council? Your timer starts now. All right, you may answer now.
As a leader of the student council, my top priority is to become a student-centered organization, providing our full support in developing and embracing the talents, skills, and character, and even creativity of SES students. We will hold several events such as the student-made clubs for students to socialize with each other. Another event is the Sharing of Caring program. By routinely carrying out this program, it can foster sense of love and affection in SES students. Another example of the event we will hold to entertain students is the SES Talent Show, Art Contest, Competitive Sports, and Esports Tournament. The main purpose of these events are to entertain the students so that they can feel comfortable while studying.
All right, there's 6 seconds left. I don't think. Okay. That is the end for the first section. We will now continue to the next section. Reminder, all rules are the same. The only change is the time that the candidates will have to prepare their answers from 30 seconds to 45 seconds, as well as the time to answer is now 1.5 minutes. Once again, you are allowed to write down your thoughts in a piece of paper. Okay, we will start now. I will commence with asking candidate number 1, Vice President aspirant to answer the second question. Tiffany, please turn on your camera. Your first question is, despite all the positive traits you have to be a great vice president, what could possibly hinder you from being an excellent vice president? I repeat, despite all the positive traits you have to be a great vice president, what could possibly hinder you from being an excellent vice president? Your timer starts now. All right, you may answer now.
Everyone has their own difficult times. So especially when I have my friends and my partner with me to support, I won't be really pressured. So since knowing that I have someone beside me and who will be able to support me by giving advices and thoughts, I will be able to come out from that difficult times. And being able to be a perfect person is definitely not real. We are not going to be perfect, and of course we do have our hard times. So we are not like pressuring someone to be perfect just like me. I won't be able to do something perfectly like how people want me to do. So the main point is that I will of course try my best to do well and do better on the next time.
Okay, despite these flaws, why do you think you still deserve to be vice president? Elaborate, please.
I have a creative mind, and my mind is widely open. So I accept opinions from other people, and I have a great leadership skills. So I will be able to do it.
All right. Thank you. Your second question is, please turn on your camera. During your last leadership position, I'm sure you've encountered many situations that required you to make a decision. What was your most challenging decision to make? And how did you arrive at your decision? And what was the outcome? I repeat, during your last leadership position, I'm sure you've encountered many situations that required you to make a decision. And what was your most challenging decisions to make? How did you arrive at your decision? And what was the outcome? Your timer starts now. All right, you may now answer.
Some people in my group back then has different opinions, and of course, before choosing the decision, I need to filter out their thoughts, and I need to think of the outcome that might happen after placing that decision. So before choosing that decision, I should ask the people around me as of which one might be a better decision, and I will try to make surveys so that it will depend on which people prefer. It's not like this opinion is bad, and I'm not going to be biased because people have their own thoughts, and definitely each decision, after I made that decision, there will be a different outcome. So I need to think wisely, and after placing that decision, it came out pretty well because I asked for the others thought, and thought that it is nice, and so we pick our decision from the majority.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I will now call upon Gilbert from candidate number 2. Please turn on your camera, Gilbert. And please remember that you'll be asked 2 different questions, so remain turning on your camera. Okay, so for your first question, the fact that you've only been here in SCS for a year, do you really think that you'll be able to solve conflicts between departments in a scenario where your president is absent, assuming that the department members could possibly be a senior of yours who you're unfamiliar with? I repeat, will you be able to solve conflicts between departments in a scenario where your president is absent? Your timer starts now. All right, the timer stops. You may now answer the question.
Yeah. Even if I only have 1 year of experience in SCS, I am still able to become the next leader because I have experience before in previous schools and organizations. And even if my team has some seniors, which is higher grades than I am and higher age, we as a team and me, I have a leadership skill. So I must make the best decisions for my team so that we can make the student council a better one. Even if my president was absent, he told me to take control of the team. So I will solve disagreements that occur between my team, and I will investigate first the problem that caused this conflict, and I will collect surveys from my team, like how this conflict happened and what happened during the conflict, and we as a team will find a solution to solve this problem.
What if both parties are not willing to compromise?
If both parties will not compromise, I will still try my best to let them work as a team.
Timer stops. I'm sorry, but thank you. Your next question is that numerous people claim that you're unqualified to be student council vice president because you've only been a member of one of the most least active departments, such as the event departments in the student council in the previous year. So what makes you think that you're the best candidate for this job? I repeat, numerous people claim that you're unqualified to be a student council vice president because you've only been a member of the least active department, such as the event department, in the student councils of the previous year. So what makes you think that you're the best candidate for this job? Your timer starts now. All right, you may now answer.
Yeah, even though that I am in one of the not that active department, but it actually doesn't matter because each department has its own good point. And a leader doesn't not mean to be in a good department. It means that he or she must have a good sense of leadership. And I believe that I have a good skill of leadership that other people might need. I have a leadership personality, which means I can handle a certain group to make the program that we are discussing happen. And I must be able to make the best decision from the ideas that was given to me from the members. So by this, a leader must actually have leadership and not need to be in a good department to be a good leader. And I believe that I can be the best leader for the next student council.
You've been mentioning that you have leadership skill. Can you give us a specific example?
Yeah, I have some organization.
I'm sorry, but
experience
the timer is up. Thank you.
Thank you. I will proceed to the next candidate, candidate number 1, Wilson, to answer this question. There are critics that your events are not very ambitious or innovative in the sense that they are almost identical to the events from previous year's student council reign. How can you refute to this claim? I repeat, there are critics that your events are not very ambitious or innovative in the sense that they are almost identical to the events from previous year's student council reign. How can you refute these claims? Your time starts now. All right, you may answer now.
Patient is something very important, and I believe in this very strongly. And there's a reason why these events are repeated year round. One, they gather attention. Two, they are tradition. And three, they might be something that I requested from last year's student council member that didn't quite happen due to the pandemic that's going around currently. And we do actually have new events. And of course, as time goes on, we can also think of new events. Just because that it won't be the campaign week anymore doesn't mean that we will stop innovating, doesn't mean that we will stop thinking of new events. And it definitely won't mean that we will stop working to help bring more joy out of school.
Do you think your plans are reachable in a span of your reign?
Although a year may seem short for some, I think that with the power that and responsibilities that we do get as a student council president and vice president, I think that all of these things are definitely possible. We can now gain access to be able to talk to the head of the school, submit a formal request, and therefore we might also even have the power to go to a different school. If, for example, submit request to their student council and request a collaboration. The possibilities are endless if someone were to given power, and I think that I am able to capitalize on that power very, very well.
How will you ensure these events to come to life?
It's gonna be difficult, but we're gonna try.
Sorry, your time is up. Thank you. Okay, your next question is, give a specific example of a policy you conformed to which you did not agree and why. I repeat, give a specific example of a policy you conform to which you did not agree and why. Your timer starts now.
Can I ask for clarification? Is this policy like a school policy, like a rule that we're stated like during online classes, or is it something like during offline classes, like you have to change your shirt during basketball, or is it something that a specific teacher gives for to a certain class or lesson?
Your own policy.
Or policy that I'm going to make?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Pardon, let me correct that. The policy refers to the school's policy that exists.
Oh, so not specific teacher specific policies, right?
Yes.
Or do those count too?
It refers to the school's policy that has existed. Are you able to interpret the question?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Do I not get extra time? Because you said that if you're asking for clarification, you will stop the timer, but it kept going.
Yes. Let's repeat. We're going to stop at 8 seconds. Stop it. Okay. You may now start answering.
So one of the most memorable policies that I think comes to mind is the one that on certain days on a Wednesday, if I recall correctly, you were to speak Chinese, and that Indonesian was barely allowed at all. Now, these are one of the rules that I specifically remember not agreeing to at all, since there's of course a huge language barricade between some students because they might come from different backgrounds, and so I didn't quite agree to this. But then after thinking about it more and more, I start to realize, oh, okay, these do have their own purposes. They serve a good cause, and I ended up conforming to these rules.
What are your plans to counter this issue?
Okay, so the main issue here, I think, comes from the fact that the students don't understand that it's for their own good. And I think this is something that we have to really emphasize, the fact that it's not because the teachers don't want you to speak English, it's that they think that they can help you improve if you were to speak Chinese. And same goes for not being allowed to speak Indonesian. So I think it's a simple matter of getting the message across.
Would you think that they will be convinced with what you have just said?
So not everyone is the same, and not everyone will immediately conform to the rules right after I'm saying that. But it's going to be a struggle, a long struggle, to be frank. But I think most people will end up conforming if they do realize that the pros benefit the cons, and that's what I hope to achieve within and less than a year of my reign.
All right, your
Okay.
time is up.
Thank you for that. Lastly, I will call upon candidate number 2, President Aspirant Selwyn. Please turn on your camera. Okay, so your first question is, your events are currently a lot more compared to the previous year. These events requires a lot of fundings, yet in your posters and video, there was nothing at all about your plans in gathering your funds for those events. Does your plan seem somewhat unrealistic? So how will you garner the funds for your events during your reign? I repeat, your events are currently a lot more compared to the previous year, and these events requires a lot of fundings, yet in your posters and video, there was nothing at all about your plans in gathering the funds for these events. Thus, your plan seems somewhat unrealistic. How will you garner the funds for your events during your reign? Your timer starts now. All right, you may now answer the question.
Before I answer how we're going to collect our funds, I would like to clarify that in our events, such as, first of all, the Student Council podcast, it's going to be virtually free in a sense, since we're using Zoom, which we don't have to go out our way to create a recording studio. But we were informed by the leaders of the school that they're going to initiate a recording studio. For the student-made clubs, however, we're maximizing the facilities of the school as well. Maybe using the what's that? We're going to use the projectors of the school, and basically you can use your own laptops using your clubs. But for the fundraising, for the fundraising part, we're going to have several, of course, we're going to have several works in the process, including a pledge system. We're going to, of course, we're going to somewhat rely on the monthly funds coming from the students to expand our events. We would also sell bundle packs during holiday celebrations, maybe Halloween theme, maybe, but that's next year. There can be Christmas theme bundle packs, which would help us raise funds within the cooperatives. We can also support student businesses and help them sell their products to garner profits together and raise funds for cooperatives.
How will you ensure that these plans will be accepted by the teachers and the school leaders as well as the community?
Well, as for the Student Council podcast, the school actually agreed with the idea and wanted to support it. The student make clubs, however, it's not.
I'm sorry, but your time is up. Okay, thank you for that. Your next question is, there must be a valid reason when it comes to why your opposing candidate is also running for the same position as you do. And so, do you think that they are a good candidate to be the next student council president or vice president? If so, please explain why, and if not so, please explain why as well. I repeat, there must be a valid reason when it comes to why your opposing candidate is also running for the same position as you do. And so, do you think that they are a good candidate to be the next student council president or vice president? Your timer starts now. All right, you may now answer.
Of course, I don't want to. I really don't want to personally attack anyone. As far as the candidates of the first group, they're actually. I'm not gonna say they're bad. They're actually really good, especially Wilson. I've known Wilson for almost my entire life, basically. Wilson is one of my best friends. He is a really great leader. He has qualities to become a really good leader, and his selection, what he picked, Tiffany, the person he picked, she is actually really fluent in her English, and I really like those qualities. They're both confident. They're both great. I think they have qualities to become really great leaders. However, Wilson Wilson sometimes has uh he has an ego, a side, a considerably large ego, I suppose. He is not mean, all right, by all means, but to me, he probably is. And sometimes, for me at least, he is quite difficult to approach, especially when he has an idea set in mind, because he's always confident in his ideas. Therefore, in some occasion, it's quite difficult to talk to him. But other than that, he makes a really good leader. He's initiative, he's motivative. And I'm not supposed to compliment my enemies, but they're great. Just bringing it out there.
Okay, thank you for that.
That was the last question. Thank you, everyone. The third program will now start. In this section, the candidates will take turns to ask questions to each other. They will have 45 seconds to think about the question to ask or to answer while being in a private call that has an election committee member to monitor. Afterwards, they will have 4 minutes to discuss the question. They are allowed to develop the conversation as long as it's related to the topic that the question asks. Clarifications may be asked, however, the timer will not be stopped.
Let us start with candidate number 1. Remember, when the preparation timer is on, you must turn on your camera, but you may mute your microphone. After the time is finished, we will start the timer to discuss the question. Okay, so please turn on your cameras, dear candidates. Selwyn and Gilbert, please also turn on your camera.
Excuse me, my video has been forced to stop by one of the hosts, so I'd like to request. Thank you.
Okay, so now you may start your first question, Wilson. You have 45 seconds for thinking and discussing, and the timer starts now. All right, you may now discuss. The timer starts.
How will you improve the mindset and attitude of the SES students, including everyone, all SES students and the STUCO members?
Well, in one of our organizational plans, we included workshops and seminars that will be held by some of the most inspiring people. I have a friend within the within the council that I'm planning to make who has connections to several people. Well, I believe these kinds of organizations events can greatly improve the characters, the talents, the skills. Basically, their characters like in general. I think this would improve. May I ask again? What was your follow-up question?
How will you improve the mindset and attitude of the SES students?
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yes. And is it only going to be activities?
I'm sure we have I guess the mindset, when you say mindset, it's more, is it the positivity they have or their happiness and stuff? Because if that's the case, then we have events that would improve other things like, sociability, like the student made clubs. Of course, we also have other like tournaments where they can shine their talents and stuff. Basically that, yeah.
So we have a lot of programs and activities for us to improve the mindset of students. It can be activities or programs. So we will try our best to improve students' mindset using our organizational plan and what we will discuss furthermore.
I hear your statement. Like, we also have those workshops and the same idea. Now, here's the thing: the biggest problem that I think comes from both sides, and we seem to have found a solution for, is attracting the attention of the students. Now, not everyone has the same purpose in life, have the same goal in life, and have the same interests in life. So even if you were to, for example, capture the attention of 80% of the students with a certain person in a seminar, it doesn't mean the 20% should be neglected. Now, how are you going to attract these other 20%?
You briefly mentioned that it was also your problem, right? Well, of course, to ensure everyone's interest, we cannot make this an obligation. We're not able to force these students to join such seminars, right? Of course, not all seminars are focused for everyone. They're solely focused on character building, or like, for example, learning workshops are also centered on a specific skill. That's why we're not going to make it an obligation for everyone to join. However, if they want to, if there are other, like, for example, a certain percentage of people who want to, refine their character or their skills here and there, our clubs, I heard you're also hosting these such clubs. I'm pretty sure they can find their calling in these places. Yeah, that we cannot force everyone in a sense.
We will try to find the most percentage of people, and we will try to educate them, entertain them as much as possible, and we will also try to do other things to take in the other remaining percentage of people who still is not interested.
Okay. A second.
All right. Stop, please. Thank you. We will proceed with the next question, this time asked by candidate number 2. Your timer for discussion starts now. All right, you may now start discussing.
In your organizational plan, we noticed that you have made plans on collaborating with other schools. Maybe ask whose idea it is and can that person further explain the idea behind the collaboration? Which school are you planning to involve in the activities? What activities do you have in mind? It came to our attention that you had mentioned it in the collaboration can help improve one another. What do you exactly plan to do?
For the idea of collaborating with other schools in and of itself, it's obviously not ours personally, because it's an idea that's widespread and practiced among very many schools outside of Indonesia too. But then the first one that that brought that up with us is, well, the two of us. We were discussing one day, and that just came up. And I think that it is an ambitious thing to do, of course. Like I said in the original question, it's very ambitious, but I think that the reward will be greater than any other event that we have held so far. It's going to be a brand new experience for most, if not all, students that is attending SES. And in terms of how we're going to achieve it, when we receive the power that is becoming student council president and vice president, we will, like I said, have access to the head of the school, and also we might make connections with other schools. And for the specific school we might want to collaborate with, it's not set in stone yet. Of course, it's up for debate. We have to look at the different variables first. Is the school suitable? Does this school have the same ideals? Is the school willing to collaborate? And will it benefit us a lot? So lots of things have to come into play here. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that personally that is one of the most memorable event if it were to happen, and it's definitely one that we're most excited about.
I'd like to ask here. Well, Gilbert did ask for a specific procedure, but you did say that you're going to write a letter to, of course, our head, and of course, you have to ask permission from the other school. In events that does not go to plan, do you have maybe a what's the word? You have a backup. If it doesn't happen, then
no. If it were to be that we were rejected by the other school, of course, we can't just simply find a different school to work with. But of course, we will try our best not to decrease the status of the school, the other schools, to the level that they're not on par. We will make sure that the other schools still of quality and of the same ideals and stuff like that. But in the event that it is rejected by the heads of our schools, of course, we will still try to convince them. We will try to release another report, maybe sometime soon. But if the final judgment from all three heads are no, then it's simply nothing we can do about it.
That's a good answer. May I ask what specifically is going to happen in your organizational plan? You mentioned that you're going to do a collaborative workshop, which it's a really great idea. But may I ask, aside from that, do you have any other things in mind when the collaboration does happen?
Now, when we say collaborative events with a certain workshop, it means that this workshop has a specialty. And of course, we can't expect someone who, for example, specializes in making food. We can't ask them to suddenly teach us carpentry. So it's not that we will have just one workshop event and then that workshop event will cover 10 different things. Maybe what we can do is we can hold multiple different workshops, and each of them will be of different kinds, and people can just pick what they want to try, what they want to do.
15 seconds. Well, I don't see why we should ask something. By the way, Wilson, you're looking fantastic today. Can I just say that?
You can say the same for yourself. It seems that
Thank you very much for the answers.
You've woken up on the right side of the bed.
All right, let's stop. Thank you. We'll now proceed again to the next question asked by candidate number 1. Your timer for discussion starts now. All right, you may now start discussing.
So as we know, we have a treasurer here in Stuco. So how am I so sure if your team is going to manage the money well and not manipulating us?
Are you asking for the specific person who will hold the treasures of the student council?
No. Will you guys be trusted?
I guess, of course, we will. We will look for the most trusted people. I'm in connection with this one person. She's wonderful, and she's been in the student council for quite some time. You know, actually, probably the whole life I know her. I just see her as a Stuco person. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that I want to make her the treasurer. I don't know if she'll accept, but as a student council, we can't just misuse the money coming from the students, right? The student council will know, the students will know, the school will know. And if we do that, how are we going to achieve our mission and vision together? The idea of the student council is to become the council that helps the students, right? Not, oh, I'm gonna take corrupt of the money. If you're talking about Wilson's comments about me being corrupt in the student council, well then, then of course it's in good fun, lah. But yeah, I'm sure we can be trusted.
Thinking the idea. Oh, okay. I was thinking
Pardon?
the idea that picking members for the student council. Now, there are definitely lots of students here that would be considered high risk, high reward students, meaning that if they were to join, they would have a great impact, but then they also pose a great risk for not only the how the student council operates, but also the outside image. Of course, student council carries a very important name, and if we were to have students that represent our name badly, it could have a very adverse effect around everything. Now, what is your plan to keep these students in check if you're even going to include them into the student council?
Are you asking for the students that's going to be in our school in general, or the student council members who will be the
ones that are going to be in the student council?
The student council. Of course, in the student council, we're going to be selective when it comes to the members. We can't just invite anyone. Well, I can't just invite anyone. Of course, I have several people in mind, and I want to group together these people to at least find other people that they think are suitable. Because if we have students with high character, of course their connections, the people that will come to mind are also other people with high character, people who contribute, people who are committed into the position. And I'm sure that everyone will be well behaved pretty much. I don't see how someone would want to tarnish us within the community unless there's some unresolved hatred. Of course, we have to resolve that privately. Maybe you. Well, I'm just kidding.
I think it's not mostly about the fact that they will do it on purpose, but mostly unconsciously. Maybe they just think it's natural behavior, or they think it's just a part of them, and then they actually do it, and they tarnish their name. That is the thing that I'm most concerned with, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest problems when it comes to selecting members in the student council.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. There's definitely some people who are passive in their actions. Like they may not know what they're doing wrong. Of course, we as a student council, we have to tell that person.
Yes, you're very wise, Selwyn, very wise. We will be blessed to have you as a leader.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 6 seconds. Wasn't you looking mighty fine today?
All right. Now let us proceed to the next question asked by candidate number 2. You may start thinking for the question. Your timer starts now.
For clarification, can I ask for this one?
Pardon?
For clarification, may I be the one asking the question this time?
Yeah. Yes. You can even direct it to a certain person from the other party.
Okay. Thank you, Ko.
Okay. You may now start discussing.
Okay, so I'll be asking this one. All right. So you mentioned in your organizational plan that you will have koperasi as one of your fundraising means. We first would like to ask: is this an online koperasi or an offline koperasi?
That is only specific to the fact that if you're going to go back to offline, of course, you definitely have heard that we have ideas to go back to offline learning quite soon. And let's be real, lots of students are quite clumsy, they're quite forgetful, and they might not remember to bring everything. And this is where Koperasi is very helpful. Even back in a primary school building, we had one of these, and I personally found it useful. And yes, so that one specifically will just be for offline classes. If it's online, obviously we can't sell them things online.
We're relying on technology,
something like that.
Yes, but however, if it's offline, do you have any plans for the capital of this koperasi, and what exactly are you planning to sell? Because you have to put to consideration these products, right? Because there is a demand for certain products like pencils or pens or well, just stationery in general. Like how will you evaluate the demand of these products? And you can't really risk a capital for items of such low demand because in the end you're not gonna fundraise, you're gonna fund unraise. I can't think of a better word than that.
Here's the thing, of course, when it comes to the surveying what people need and what people don't need, there we have two methods. One, simply we can create a Google form survey that they can answer. But of course, this will not provide very accurate data. Another thing we can do is just we can buy maybe 2 months worth of supplies and lay it all out. And after a month, we can detect, oh, this thing sells faster than this thing doesn't sell quite well. And with that data, we can continue on forward with more data points. Since of course, this is not just a 1 month affair, this is going to take on the entire year. And through that year, we're going to get more and more data. We can get more accurate. We can pinpoint what is needed, what is not needed. And so when it comes to the capital that we first need in order to invest, of course, I personally hold quite the responsibility for this because I'm not just going to ask my friends for, okay, help me pay for all of these so that I can start koperasi. I think that I can take responsibility to start the initiative. And then we can just reuse the profit, we can reuse the sales in order to further invest into the koperasi.
Let me ask you this: do you think the opportunity, if you were to initiate a koperasi, do you think the profits or the opportunity would be worth in taking, because such items, these things may be in quite low demand. Not everyone will be forgetful all the time, especially if we're going to train their responsibility as a school, because we're trying as a student council, we're trying to improve the characters of SCS students, and not everyone will resort to buying a pencil or a pen immediately as they forget something. Of course, they have a friend they can lend to. Can you elaborate?
Opening a koperasi does not have the goal of reducing the responsibility of students. It's merely a fail-safe for if they were forced to buy something that they does not need. And remember, the koperasi is not merely selling erasers, pencils, and pens. They can also sell things that are, like, for example, like sketchbooks or something like graphic paper, where you might not be able to really just lend your friends because you can't just give them the entire book. You can't give them an entire sheet of sketch paper. So of course there are many things that that can be used, that can be sold in this koperasi. And as for profit and stuff, obviously everything is going to be recycled back into koperasi, and profits are going to be used for, well, fundraising for next events, for example, prize events for tournaments, prize event for academic weeks, stuff like that.
All right, the time's up. You may turn off your cameras.
All right, we will now commence with the fourth section. In this section, each campaign team will take turns to ask questions to each other. They will have 45 seconds to think about the questions to ask or to answer, while being in a private call that has an election committee member to monitor. Afterwards, they will have 4 minutes to discuss the questions. They are allowed to develop the conversations as long as it's related to the topic that the question asks. Clarifications may be asked, however, the timer will not be stopped.
We will start with campaign team number 2, but please turn on your cameras, your campaign teams. Campaign teams, please turn on your cameras. Okay, we'll start. We will start the timer discussion now. You have 45 seconds to think. The timer starts now. Campaign team number 1, please also turn on your camera. Okay, you may now start discussing.
Okay, may we be the first to ask? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, guys, what gave you the impression or what made you guys think that Wilson and Tiffany is a good leader? Why did you join them? Didn't you join them because you are just their friends?
Anyone from campaign team number 1 may answer.
Anyone to answer? Or do you guys need further clarification of our question? I'm sticking, guys. We also want to hear your questions too.
I believe that they have the leadership skills that are necessary for being the president and vice president of the student council, and they will be able to bring students' opinions into consideration.
Can you elaborate how you mentioned how they have good leadership skills?
Can you specify how do you say like they have good leadership skills? Like where's the evidence? Can you specify on what part do they have good leadership?
They mentioned that they will listen to our opinions and they will put them in consideration, and it's important for us as students because our opinions also matter.
But not all opinions are good. Some opinions may be bad, may influence badly to our school.
Part of my correct. Weren't your campaign solely because you are their friends?
Excuse me?
Well, I'm a repeat, okay? As a part of my question before, I did mention that I wanted to ask you guys how you guys chose them. But you also have to take into account my second question. Weren't you guys entering their campaign just because you guys are Tiffany's or Wilson's friends?
Okay, I will answer this.
Campaign.
Friendship is formed because we trust each other and we know each other good qualities. So even if we were to pick to us just being friends, it's still a valid answer.
Okay, so you're saying that you're influenced by your friendship that you chose to enter their campaign?
Wait, I wanna add on.
Time is finished.
Time is up.
Huh?
Time's up.
Time's up. Oh.
Your time is up. Okay. We're now going to proceed to the next question from campaign team number 2. Sorry, number 1. You have 45 seconds to think of your question. Your timer starts now.
In your promotional video, Wilson and Tiffany are seen together at close.
Bro, not yet, not yet.
Oh, salah.
First
Maaf, maaf.
warning. All right, campaign team number 1, you may now ask your questions and discuss with campaign team number 2. The timer starts now.
Okay.
Okay, as the president and the vice president, of course, they must have a good leadership skills. So, when have you seen them showcasing their leadership skills?
Okay, so personally, me and Selwyn has been friends for, I don't know, about 6 years. So, I don't know, 7 years maybe. So, like in that time, how can I not know him, right? I would consider that we are very best friends. And of course, I've seen him throughout my, like half of my life, that he does show very, very good leadership skills, and he's a very good friend, and he's very responsible in handling things.
And also, excuse me, and also Gilbert is in my class, and he's a very good leader. That I already seen that Gilbert is a good leader when he helped to lead the class.
During the campaign period, I've seen great leadership skills performed by both of the candidates. They managed the team really well, so we could have the we have maximized results, so people could vote for us and etc.
Yeah, and when during the campaigning period there was a conflict in our group, and they solved the conflict peacefully.
Yes, we got 2 warnings and we solved both of them, and until now we don't have the 3rd warning. So that is one of the.
Isn't that a good example of a good leader?
Yes,
Even
they could
I just
manage their team really well.
I do have a feeling that he is a good leader, or vice leader.
Not a feeling, it's just that he's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fact. It's a fact, not a feeling.
And also many times that Gilbert is in my group, he always managed to help us, like when to become a leader in my group, and he performed it very well.
Gilbert,
So,
what you wanna talk first?
Okay, sure. So Gilbert he has been one class with me since grade 7, and he's able to carry most people who's not responding. Like, yeah. So we're able to do our group work even though some people is not responding.
See, Kepi is one of the examples of really good dedication and really good instructions by our leaders. Our leader said if we must join the debate, so Kepi decided to sacrifice her jalan-jalan time.
Yeah, I think we've answered enough. Let's proceed to the next question, whether it's from our team or your team.
Please behave decently and remain using English. Reminder that this is Surabaya Cambridge Goals debate.
Yeah, go. Sorry, go. You may proceed to your next question. We're waiting. Thank you.
You know what? Since time's running and no one's talking, so
One of you mentioned how Gilbert prevented the 2 strikes to happen. I mean, prevented following strikes. But then, if he was a good leader, he won't allow 2 strikes to happen in the first place.
Time's up.
And time's up.
Oh, time is up. Okay.
Okay.
Now we have arrived at the fifth section. Here are your chances to get involved. An election committee member will pick 6 questions from the comment section to ask the candidates. Each candidate has to answer 3 questions given to them. They have 30 seconds to prepare and 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. The questions will be monitored and picked by an election committee member. All right, let's get started.
Okay, so the first question is directed to both candidate 1 and candidate 2. The question is, how do you maintain the income of the student council? Because not to mention that in this pandemic, it's quite hard to have an income for the student council funding.
For clarification, is this just for the campaign team, or are we also allowed to
It's
answer?
for
So
the president candidates.
Oh, okay then. I think this is something that's a good thing to bring up since.
Wait. You have 30 seconds to think of your answer.
Okay.
Would you like to start? Candidate number 1?
Yeah.
Okay, you have 30 seconds to think of the answer. Your timer starts now. All right, you may now start answering.
Well, I think this is a very valid argument to put up since, like you said, raising money in online situation would be difficult. But then again, if you remember in the past, we've had a system where every month we will pay maybe like only 10,000, 15,000 per student. And that way we could raise money in order to pay for events, pay for prize pools. And when it all comes down to it, it's just how willing the students are. It's not really our call. If we were even to implement this rule, such as that every month you would pay 15,000, if the students are not willing to participate, then it's not really something that we can work around. It's really all just based on the students. And it really comes down to will you be willing to support us and allow us to enable these events and make it more fun for you guys to participate in? Because if we have a lower budget, it will be less exciting, less fun, and so on and so forth.
Would you have any more elaboration on that?
I think not. That is the main point that I would like to get across. It's that it just depends on the people, because money does not come from purely from the student council. It comes from you guys too.
Do you believe that they are willing to give you money solely for that?
I think making it compulsory is something that is not really good. Like forcing students every single every single month to pay up for a certain amount is bad, and then deducting their score from the department card because they don't. I think it's a very bad system. I think that it really should be something that they want to do, but I believe that everyone here has the ability to pay a measly amount every month. So I think they will be willing, or I hope they're willing. Their parents are willing
time is
to
up.
help us out.
Okay, so the next question. Let's proceed to candidate number 2.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to ask for both candidates, group 1 and 2. Like, I heard that there's this one question. It says, I heard that both of the candidates mentioned about an e-sport tournaments for one of the events. What are the games included when you are hosting the event? We can start with candidate number 1. Okay.
Let's have it for only candidate number 2. Let's have a more diverse question instead.
All right.
Okay, so I'm
You
here to
have
answer.
30 seconds to think.
Oh, all right.
All right, you may now start answering.
Okay, so you mentioned esports tournaments, all right? So, and if you were to ask us what games we would like to host, it actually depends on what you want to play. That's why in one of our organizational plans, we also have monthly satisfaction surveys, which would include suggestions for maybe, oh, what games you want to see in the upcoming esports. It virtually be anything as long as there's, of course, a player base. We can't just say, oh, we're gonna host Minecraft Hunger Games if there's like 4 players. That's not going to work. But for games that are popular within the secondary school, such as Valorant, or maybe there's uh what's the game? Mobile Legends. Yes, that game. There's also PUBG. There's also there's a few people in my friend group, especially, who plays Wild Rift. And if there's enough people who want to play that, then sure, be our guest. There's also League of Legends. It depends on the player base of each game, of course. And who knows, if there's enough player base, we could also host console games like, Super Smash Bros. Or, all right, Rocket League. I know there are some Rocket League players out there, huh? Yes, but it definitely depends on you guys. If there's a player base, there's a competition. A demand, a supply there.
Do you think you'll get all the approval from the teachers? It's not relevant to their academics.
We will try our best to give letters.
Your time stops now. Okay, so let's proceed to the next question for candidate number 1. The question is, you will eventually graduate from SES, and how do you plan to make sure that your current initiatives, programs, and mindsets will continue even if you're out of SES already? You have 30 seconds to think of this. Your timer starts now. All right. Your time to answer starts now.
It's a very good importance to remember that we will be here in a year, and within this year, we'll have to implant our ideals. We have to implant what we think is correct, what we think is true. Now, once we do leave and someone does come and replace us, there's really no guarantee that our ideals might stay. But one thing that we can do is something that Aaron did, and Aaron that is already an alumni, and I am actually very shocked and amazed by what he did. And when I saw it happen, I wanted to do it too. He was able to come back to our school and bring a speech, a seminar to the SMP students. And I was amazed by this. And this is one of the ways that I can keep my ideals alive even once I'm gone. So it's not really all about is it going to have an everlasting effect on the school? It's more of how I can enforce it even once I'm out. And I believe that there are many ways that we can work around with, of course, the approval of the teachers.
Do you think your predecessors would have the same vision as you do? How can you ensure that it will keep on going?
Now, everyone has their own vision, everyone has their own mission, but of course, we all strive for one thing, and that is to make SCS a better place, a greater place. And I think that if that is the main goal of every single one of us, then no matter who wins, may it be me or Selwyn, we will still try our best to create make SCS a better place. And if that mission is the most important mission, then no matter who will come after me and who came before me, everyone did a good job and everyone completed the mission.
Okay, your time is up. Thank you for that.
All right, we will ask another question to candidate number 2. Question is, if one of your head departments misbehave, how would you handle it and why? Keep in mind that a department head will carry a huge responsibility and they are whom the members will look up to. Your timer starts now.
All right, you may now start answering.
Okay, so of course, as presidents, we have to be selective of our members. Like I've mentioned that there are several people in head that I want to pick, especially those who has been active and who has been, I guess, influential in a good way in the previous years of SES. And yes, these heads of departments will hold a really large responsibility and influence among their members. And if in events that they misbehave, which I quite doubt will happen, but of course there is a possibility. And in these cases, we're going to resolve this professionally. We can't just make them repent or anything. We have to resolve this privately within the person. We have to ask what happens because as a team, it is to ensure that everyone within the organization is pleased. I guess that's the word. Yes.
Are you willing to kick or downgrade a head of department from your student council in case where they misbehave, they do not follow your instruction, and they do not want to cooperate?
See, I'm a kind man, but if such misbehavior has been shown, all right, especially to a specific person, and especially if it's countless times, then there is no other way of discipline than to remove. But of course, we will have to try our best. We have to give chances in a sense. But if it's excessive, then there's no other choice.
All right, thank you. The next question will be directed to candidate number 1. Okay, actually it's a general one, but to all presidents and vice president aspirants, what do you personally feel is the most important goal of this leadership? Your timer to think starts now. All right, you may now start answering the question.
Personally, what I think is most important when it comes to leadership is the ability to communicate and bring people together. You might be a good leader with the best plan, with the best execution in your head, but if you're unable to communicate with your teammates and you don't have a sense of bond with them and you aren't able to voice them out properly, it's not going to end up well. Because of course, as a leader, you're commanding other people, not just clones of yourself. You don't have one singular mind, and your job is to make everyone that one singular mind, to make everyone be on the same page and help everyone do their work properly and smoothly without any problem. So I think, yes, that's the most important part of being a leader, being able to communicate and being able to understand the people that you are leading.
So what's your main goal then?
To be able to communicate with our the people we're leading well.
Okay. Do you not have other objectives that you personally want to reach as a student council leader?
Of course, our personal objectives, it's always there. Everyone has their own motivations. But when it comes to the bigger picture, I can't pick myself over the hundreds of other students and the tens of people who are going to be in the student council. Those people always should come before me. And I think I'm successful in doing that and keeping myself wants to the minimum.
All right. Thank you for that.
All right, we will ask the last question for candidate number 2. If events are optional, do you think it would be fair? And why would someone join if it has no academic benefits?
Your timer to think starts now. All right, you may now answer the question.
I'm going to first answer the first one, like if it's optional, why is it fair? Will it be fair? Of course, it's an optional activity, so we're not forcing a person to join such activity. Therefore, everyone has the chance to choose if they were to participate or not. As for the events, when you said they have no academic value, which I think you're referring to the student-made clubs, the Bukatsu system, which I won't say it's entirely true because it depends on the club you make, then we have to first notice that the main idea of my Bukatsu system is not necessarily to learn, but to socialize. Within the pandemic, I'm sure there are several students out there who has been disconnected with their friends. Of course, I cannot say I am one of them, but I know some people because we have Discord and all. We have technologies that that of course can minimize this problem. But of course, there are also some students who cannot set off at the right foot. Is that the term? Anyways, yes, there are some students who aren't able to familiarize themselves with SCS students. I can name a few, but I won't, of course. So the idea of the Bukatsu system is not to learn, but to make friends, to reconnect with people you used to know, and in general, just have fun after school.
Do you think it would be fair in terms of like the scoring and so on? What if they don't get any addition point? I'm sorry, but the time is up. But finally, we have come down to our last section here that is dedicated to our fellow candidates. That they will be given 2 minutes to promote themselves to the audience. Remember, it's best for if you use all your precious seconds to talk about how you can make the best president. And without further ado, shall we start? We will start with candidate number 1, Wilson and Tiffany. Please take the stage. Your timer starts now.
Can I let someone go first?
I think they want us to go.
Your timer starts now, Wilson. You have 2 minutes to talk, not to think or anything. You directly talk to them.
We are no strangers to love. You know rules, and so do I. A full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just want to tell you what I'm feeling. I gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you off. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. And never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been acting, but you're too shy to say it. Inside, we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're playing it. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too blind to see. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie or hurt you.
You still have 30 seconds to elaborate on your message and speech.
Collaboration will come pretty soon. I think that there's a certain chemistry that is present, and a further elaboration will be covered by someone else other than me.
All right. Your 2 minutes is up. Now let's listen to our last message here. Lastly, we have the candidate number 2, Selwyn and Gilbert. Your timer starts now.
So apparently Wilson did not give me a chance to continue it. All right, fine, I see you. But I have another speech prepared. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrow of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die to sleep. No more! And by asleep, to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks. That flesh is there to just consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream, and there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shoveled up this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time? The oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns of time. Oh wait, this is too long. That patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his Titus make with a bare bodkin, who would fathers bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life. But that the dread of something after death, that the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will and makes us rather bear those ills we have. Thank you.
We love you all.
Thank you for that warm, foam, heart-touching. Well, with this message being conveyed, everyone is done. The presidential debate is officially over. And I would like to say thank you for you guys for participating and watching. Good luck, stay safe, God bless you all. Goodbye.
Stay
Thank you,
safe.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Vote for two, Hawaii. Vote for two.
Vote for two!
Vote for two. Vote for two.
Vote for two.
Guys.